Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Have you ever felt like you're being watched or had a seemingly normal encounter turn dark? Today, we have 3 creepy stories. In story 1, Olivia is stalked by a strange man on Instagram. In story 2, Ethan's lost phone leads him into an abandoned site with a chilling mystery. And in story 3, Alex's Tinder date, a terrifying twist. What would you do in their shoes? Let me know in the comments below. Stay tuned. Things are about to get creepy. It was a typical afternoon in Los Angeles. Olivia Johnson was scrolling aimlessly through Instagram, absent-mindedly liking posts from her friends, when one photo stopped her in her tracks. It was a picture of herself and Emily, taken just that afternoon while they were lounging in the backyard. The warm sun had cast a golden glow on their faces, and they both looked carefree. But something felt off as Olivia stared at the screen. There was something in the comments that caught her eye. She noticed a comment at the very bottom, posted just a minute ago. It was from a man she didn't recognize. "You are a very beautiful young lady," followed by a smiley face. Olivia frowned. She didn't know anyone with the name Daniel Clark. She clicked on his profile, out of curiosity. His feed was unsettling. Most of the photos were blurry, random shots of landscapes, some pictures of half-empty bottles, and strange unidentifiable objects. There were no real pictures of himself, just random, disturbing images. The most disconcerting part? He followed over 100 people, yet had only 15 followers, and Olivia was one of them. Her stomach twisted in knots. Why was he following her? Why would he comment like that? Olivia quickly texted Emily, showing her the comment. "This guy is creepy," she said, urging Emily to block him. Emily agreed immediately, texting back, "Ugh, I know. It's so weird." The situation seemed to die down. Olivia went back to liking photos and didn't think much about it until the next day. As Olivia and Emily walked home from school, they noticed a white car trailing them. At first, they thought it was just a coincidence. But as they passed street after street, the car remained a few yards behind them, moving slower than normal. Olivia's heart began to pound. She glanced over at Emily, who was already looking nervously at the vehicle. "I think we're being followed," Emily whispered. Without thinking, Olivia nodded. "Let's go to your house." The car didn't speed off until they reached Emily's driveway. It was too close, too deliberate. The hairs on the back of Olivia's neck stood up. Something wasn't right. The feeling of being watched didn't leave Olivia as she sat in Emily's room that afternoon. She couldn't shake the sensation that someone was lurking just outside her window, waiting. They tried to push the unease aside, laughing and talking about school, but the incident from the previous day still clung to them like a dark shadow. Later, as the sun began to set, Olivia's phone buzzed. It was a message from Emily. "I checked his profile again. His face matches the one on the window." Olivia's blood ran cold. Emily had looked through the Instagram profile of Daniel Clark once more. The man who had commented on Olivia's photo. The same man who had watched them from outside Emily's window. Her hands shook as she texted back. "What do you mean?" Emily's reply was almost immediate. "I'm serious, Liv. The guy in the window. It was him. I'm not crazy." Olivia sat there, paralyzed with a sudden rush of fear. The man wasn't just some random commenter. He was someone close, someone who knew where she was. They had both agreed to block him, but now the chilling thought of him being that close to them made Olivia's skin crawl. Later that evening, as they were about to relax and order pizza, they heard it. A light knock at the front door. It was soft at first, like someone testing if anyone was home. Emily went downstairs to check, but Olivia stayed behind, her nerves on edge. She heard Emily's footsteps retreating, followed by a hurried return up the stairs. "There's someone outside," Emily whispered, eyes wide with terror. The door was locked. They were trapped. Olivia and Emily stood frozen in Emily's bedroom, their breath shallow and rapid. The sound of the soft knock at the door still echoed in their ears, but it wasn't the only noise that made their hearts race. From downstairs, they heard the unmistakable sound of a door handle rattling. Someone was trying to get in. Is he at the back door? Olivia whispered, her voice barely audible. Emily nodded, her eyes wide with fear. I don't know. I didn't see anyone. The silence in the house felt oppressive. The second the rattling stopped, they both ran to the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of whoever was out there. But the yard was empty. There was no sign of Anyonyeno on the porch, no one in the shadows. It was as if the intruder had vanished into thin air. Still shaken, Olivia moved toward the door, desperate to check the back. We need to lock everything. Now. As they turned to leave the room, Emily screamed, her voice piercing the air. Olivia spun around to see her friend pointing at the window, eyes wide in horror. Through the cracked blinds, a man's face was clearly visible, peering in at them from outside. His eyes were wide, and his lips curled into a disturbing smile. He was holding something in his hands, a camera. The sight of him on the roof, where he should never have been, sent a cold wave of terror crashing over them. "Run!" Olivia shouted, pulling Emily toward the door. But they were too late. Olivia and Emily sprinted down the hallway, their hearts pounding in their chests. Every step they took felt like it echoed through the house, amplifying their fear. They reached the basement door and yanked it open, slamming it behind them as they descended into the cold darkness. The basement was empty, dimly lit by a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were bare, the concrete floor cold beneath their feet. But it felt like the safest place they could be, even though every shadow seemed to shift in the dim light. The sound of their ragged breathing was the only thing they could hear. Olivia's hands trembled as she pulled her phone from her pocket, trying to call the police. But there was no signal. Emily was clutching her phone as well, her face pale with terror. "We need to stay quiet," Olivia whispered, her voice shaking. "He's still out there." Emily nodded, her eyes wide with fear. They crouched in the corner, trying to make themselves as small as possible. Every time a sound came from upstairs, their hearts stopped. Was it him? Was he coming down? Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from upstairs. The door to the basement rattled. Olivia's stomach turned. Someone was above them, moving around. The sensation of being hunted was suffocating. Just as Olivia was about to get up and check, she heard the unmistakable click of a camera shutter. The flash illuminated the basement door, casting a brief but blinding light across the room. "He's still here," Emily whispered, her voice breaking. "He's been here the whole time." It was a typical Friday evening when Ethan Walker, a 22-year-old college student from San Diego, found himself sitting in his usual spot at the local cafe. The air was thick with the smell of coffee and the hum of quiet chatter. He had just wrapped up a casual hangout with his friends, laughing over a few drinks, when his phone buzzed. A message from his own phone appeared on the screen he hadn't sent. The message wasn't just text. It was a photo. A blurry image of his friends, Jake, Chris, and Ryan, taken just moments ago. They were sitting in the same cafe, laughing, completely unaware of the camera. Ethan's heart skipped a beat as he looked around the table. His phone had been in his pocket the entire time. How was this possible? The photo looked grainy, almost as if someone had been spying on them. He stared at the screen for a moment, his mind racing, before tapping open the message. It was followed by a chilling line. "You're not alone." His fingers trembled as he scrolled through his phone. It was filled with other strange photos. Dark streets, empty parking lots, random objects none of which he had taken. And then, it hit him. The photos were taken at times when Ethan had never even touched his phone. It was impossible. Someone was controlling it. His palms were sweating as he tried to convince himself it was some kind of glitch. But the unease creeping up his spine told him this wasn't a mistake. Someone was out there. Someone who had access to his life, his moments, his friends. And the worst part? Whoever they were watching him. His phone buzzed again, and his breath caught. "I know where you are." Ethan's heart raced as his phone buzzed once again. The message from his own number felt like a dark omen. "I'm closer than you think." His throat tightened. He stared at the screen, his mind spiraling. It couldn't be real. Someone had to be messing with him. But how? Why? He quickly opened Find My. Iphonia's stomach churned as the map loaded. His phone wasn't in his apartment. It was moving, heading toward a desolate, abandoned industrial area on the outskirts of town. Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. That wasn't just an odd coincidence. Someone was following him. He texted Jake, trying to sound casual, but the words didn't come out right. "Hey, I think my phone's being used by someone. It's moving. And I think it's headed to that abandoned site." Jake replied instantly. "What are you talking about? That's weird. Are you sure?" There was no way to explain this. It was too surreal. Ethan had to see for himself. He couldn't stay in the apartment, feeling trapped by the uncertainty. Ethan grabbed his keys, telling Jake and the others to meet him. As he drove toward the site, an eerie silence filled the car. His thoughts raced, but nothing made sense. The hairs on his neck stood up as the night closed in. They were being watched. Ethan's grip on the steering wheel tightened as he pulled into the darkened parking lot of the abandoned industrial site. The once bustling area now sat in eerie silence, its rusted machinery and broken windows casting long shadows under the pale moonlight. The hairs on the back of his neck prickled. Something was wrong, and every instinct screamed at him to turn back. But he couldn't. His phone buzzed again this time, a photo of the parking lot he was just entering, with the caption, "I'm right here." The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He wasn't alone. The person who had been following him was already here. Ethan quickly called Jake, his voice shaky. "Get here now," he urged, his words a frantic whisper. "I think here. They've been watching me." Jake's voice crackled through the phone. "We're on our way. Stay put." But Ethan didn't feel safe. His phone pinged again. "You're too late." He stepped out of the car. Every sound amplified in the stillness. The air felt heavy, pressing down on him as he surveyed the area. Every corner seemed to hide something. Every shadow seemed to move. A sudden flicker of light caught his eye. Someone was standing at the far end of the building, watching him. Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears as he stood frozen, staring at the shadowy figure in the distance. The flickering light revealed only the outline of the person, but that was enough. His gut told him this wasn't just a coincidence. Someone was waiting for him. Someone who knew he was coming. His phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with a new message. "I see you." Ethan's blood ran cold. He wasn't alone. The presence he had felt creeping closer was now a reality, and it was all too real. He quickly backed away toward the entrance of the building, his feet unsteady as the dim light from his phone barely cut through the thick darkness. Every noise, every creak of the floorboards, seemed amplified, as if the entire building was holding its breath. Then, a sharp sound pierced the silence via camera shutter, followed by the flash of light. Ethan whipped around, closer now, a camera in hand, its lens aimed squarely at him. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. This wasn't just some random persona, it was a predator, toying with him, watching him. He turned on his heel and bolted for the door, the sound of footsteps close behind him. Ethan's heart raced as he sprinted toward the exit, the sound of his pounding footsteps echoing off the walls. His mind was clouded with fear, his breath coming in ragged gasps, each one feeling like it could be his last. Behind him, the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps grew louder. The figure was gaining on him. He glanced over his shoulder, the shadowy outline of the stalker following him, camera still in hand. The flash of light from the camera cut through the darkness like a beacon. Ethan's stomach churned, and a surge of adrenaline fueled his flight. He reached the door, pulling at the handle in desperation, but it wouldn't budge. Locked. He cursed under his breath, spinning around to find the figure mere feet away. The man's face was obscured by the darkness, but the camera flash illuminated his grin, cold and twisted. With no time to think, Ethan bolted in the opposite direction, heading deeper into the building. He had to lose him, had to find a way out. His phone buzzed again. He didn't dare stop to look at it, but the dread crept up his spine. What now? Was the stalker playing with him? A sudden loud crash from behind startled Ethan. He glanced back and saw the figure stumble over debris, giving him a slight head start. But just as he thought he was getting away, the unmistakable click of a camera echoed through the air. Alex Turner had always been skeptical about online dating. But after weeks of isolation, he finally gave in and downloaded Tinder. He wasn't expecting much, just a few casual chats, maybe even a date or two. But then he came across Sophia Hartman. Smile was bright, her eyes kind, and their conversations flowed effortlessly. Her profile was a breath of fresh air in a sea of awkward encounters. After a week of chatting, Alex invited her to dinner at a nearby restaurant. To his surprise, she agreed almost immediately. He was excited, yet an odd feeling tugged at the back of his mind. Maybe it was because they had never spoken on the phone, or because her profile picture seemed just a little too perfect. But that didn't stop him. He was eager to meet her. The night of the date, Alex arrived early, waiting outside her apartment building. The area felt strange old, quiet, almost too quiet. The street lights cast long, eerie shadows across the cracked sidewalks. The towering building in front of him looked like something out of a forgotten city, its peeling paint and dirty windows giving off an unsettling vibe. Sophia showed up on time, and Alex couldn't help but notice how different she looked in person. Her smile was still warm, but there was something about her eyes, something he couldn't quite place. Her outfit was nice, but the way she moved felt unnatural, almost rehearsed. "Let's go upstairs," she suggested, her voice a little too smooth, like she was trying to sell him on something. Without thinking, Alex agreed. They went up to her apartment, where the atmosphere shifted. The place was dark, quieter than it should have been. There was an underlying tension in the air, like something was off, but Alex couldn't figure out what. As they entered Sophia's apartment, the door creaked shut behind them, sending an unsettling chill down Alex's spine. The lights were dim, casting long, jagged shadows across the room. It was quiet, too quiet. The faint hum of a refrigerator was the only sound that filled the still air. The furniture seemed sparse, as if she hadn't bothered to make it feel like a home. There was a weird smell in the air, like stale perfume mixed with something more metallic. Sophia smiled, but it felt forced, almost too perfect. "Make yourself comfortable," she said, gesturing toward a couch that looked like it had barely been used. Alex nodded, though he couldn't shake the discomfort crawling up his spine. They sat, and the conversation started off normal enough. But then Sophia began asking strange, probing questions that felt invasive, as if she already knew things about him that she shouldn't. She was too eager to know about his past, his family, and especially his relationships. "Do you ever feel like someone is watching you?" she asked suddenly, her gaze intense and unnerving. Alex blinked, unsure how to respond. Sophia's smile didn't fade. "I think we all feel like that sometimes. But you, Alex, I think you're being watched right now." Her words sent a cold shiver through him, and the unease in his stomach grew stronger. Before he could answer, he heard a faint click coming from the dark hallway. The sound of the click echoed in Alex's mind, his pulse racing. He glanced toward the dark hallway, trying to make out anything in the shadows, but it was empty, nothing there. Yet the feeling of being watched was stronger than ever. Sophia didn't seem fazed by the noise. She just smiled at him, her eyes unwavering. "Did you hear that?" Alex asked, his voice trembling slightly. She nodded, but instead of looking concerned, she looked almost pleased. "I think we're not alone," she said, her voice soft, as though she were sharing a secret. Alex felt a cold shiver crawl up his back. Something was horribly wrong. The conversation had turned from casual to chilling in the blink of an eye. Sophia had moved closer to him, her smile widening, but her gaze was distant, almost like she was waiting for something. Suddenly, Alex stood up, his heart thudding in his chest. "I should go," he said, trying to keep his voice steady, but his legs felt weak. His instincts screamed at him to leaven out. Sophia didn't react immediately. For a moment, she just stared at him, her smile fading. Then she spoke softly, almost in a whisper. "You can't leave, Alex. Not yet." The door was blocked. The air thickened, suffocating him. He wasn't just trapped physically, he was trapped in a nightmare. Alex's mind raced as he backed away from Sophia, his heart pounding in his chest. He couldn't believe what was happening. The warm, inviting atmosphere of her apartment had turned cold and suffocating. Her smile was no longer comforting now. It felt predatory, as if she was watching him like a lion watches its prey. "I really think you should stay," she murmured, her voice soft and coaxing. She reached out toward him, but Alex instinctively stepped back, bumping into the edge of the coffee table. His hand fumbled for his phone in his pocket, hoping to call for help, but his phone was gone. Panic flooded him. "Where's my phone?" he demanded, his voice tight with fear. Sophia tilted her head, almost amused. "It's in the other room. Don't worry about it." Her tone was unsettlingly calm. "You can't leave, Alex. I told you." The door. Alex turned to the door, desperate to escape, but it was locked. He yanked at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. His breath caught in his throat, was trapped. "I don't know who you are, but this isn't funny anymore," Alex shouted, trying to sound brave, but his voice cracked. Sophia just smiled, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. "I'm not joking, Alex. It's already too late." A cold chill washed over him as he realized she wasn't alone. Alex's pulse thundered in his ears as he realized the gravity of the situation. He was trapped. The door wouldn't open, his phone was gone, and Sophia's smile now felt like a cruel joke. He felt the room close in around him, suffocating him with dread. His body was frozen, and his mind raced, searching for an escape. Sophia stepped closer, her footsteps almost silent on the floor, her eyes never leaving him. "You should have listened, Alex," she said softly, her voice laced with something cold, something that made his skin crawl. "You were never meant to leave." A sudden noise behind him made him spin around. From the shadowed doorway emerged Gregory Williams, a tall, broad-shouldered man Alex hadn't noticed before. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. This was no coincidence. This wasn't just a bad date. Gregory's smile mirrored Sophia's chilling, predatory. "Sophia was right, Alex. You should have stayed. We were watching you, waiting for the perfect moment." Alex's breath hitched. They were not strangers. They knew far too much about him, too much for it to be just a random encounter. His body tensed as he realized the truth. This was a trap. Sophia stepped forward, her hand brushing his arm. "You can't leave now. You're ours. And we've waited a long time for this." A wave of panic hit him, his survival instincts kicking in. But before he could react, Gregory moved swiftly, grabbing him. "Thanks for watching, everyone. What do you think? Could these stories happen to anyone? Or are they just freaky coincidences? Have you ever experienced something like this? Or maybe you have your own chilling story to share. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I might just feature your story next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more spine-tingling tales. Stay tuned, and stay safe out there.